Today, AI is software, right? And so when you use AI, you use ChatGPT. It's an app on your phone, right? It doesn't. There's no manufacturing kind of component, really. People are building giant data centers, but it's not a huge generator of like middle class jobs. But there's another turn on AI that's coming, which is the turn to embodied physical AI, which is robotics. Right, and this is a transition that has already happened. It's already actually happened in drones, where drones went from being human piloted to actually being autonomously piloted. They now fly themselves. It's a transition that's happening in cars right now, right, where cars went from basically purely physical products to now basically being rolling computers that drive themselves. And if you haven't tried this yet, if you ever have the misfortune of finding yourself in San Francisco, take a Waymo. It's amazing to live in a cyberpunk future reality where you're in literally a state-of-the-art self-driving car that's literally out of the Jetsons, driving past people who are dying of fentanyl overdoses on the sidewalk. I recommend having the experience at least once. But the self-driving car really does work, like it's really happening. And then what's going to happen, you've all probably seen, Elon has this Optimus robot that he's building, these humanoid robots. Like the general purpose robotics thing is going to happen, and it's going to happen in the next decade, and it's going to happen at giant scale. And I think there's a plausible argument, which Elon also believes, that robotics is going to be the biggest industry in the history of the planet. It's going to be gigantic. There's going to be billions, tens of billions, hundreds of billions of robots of all shapes, sizes, descriptions running around doing all kinds of things. Those robots need to get designed and built, right? And so my view is, we don't try to get the old manufacturing jobs back. What we should do is lean hard into the manufacturing jobs of the future, which is designing and building all of these new things, right? By the way, which includes drones and cars, right, and robots. And we shouldn't be building manufacturing lines that have people sitting on a rubber mat for 10 hours screwing screws in by hand, but we should be building, what Elon calls them alien dreadnought factories, right? Which is like these super sophisticated factories with like tons of robotics. But you can imagine thousands and thousands of different categories of industrial production that have to happen all across the US in order to make this happen. And would cause just like enormous economic growth throughout the country. We get a huge payoff from all the tech investment that the coasts are making, but we generate many tens or hundreds of millions of jobs in the countryside. And then the U.S. would lead. It would be, be the third industrial or fourth industrial revolution. We would lead in the development of all these new things. And then you get to the national security side of this, which is if you don't do this, you're living in a world of Chinese robots everywhere. And that has, very profound consequences for, let's just say, profound consequences.
And it's an important policy point. And I want to dig into this a little bit more. I was just in an interview up there, like, aren't we going to destroy tens of millions of jobs? Isn't AI scary? A lot of people are very scared right now with the disruption. I'm very excited about the higher productivity because I see it being disinflationary. I see it creating more jobs. How do we, if assuming we're aligned, how do we explain this to people? How do we explain this is actually a really good thing for the country? Because a lot of Luddites are going to attack this. They are going to try to stop it.
Yeah, so the Luddites are wrong. The neo-Luddites are wrong. They're wrong in the sense of for the reason they've always been wrong, which is the reality is we have not, in the last 50 years, been in an era of fast productivity growth, technological change. We've been in an area of slow productivity change, slow economic growth. AI, if it works the way that actually people either hope or fear that it's going to work, it's going to cause productivity growth to shoot up. That will naturally accelerate economic growth. But look, if it just stays as software, then the result of that is it's going to make the cities much better off, right? It's going to make San Francisco and LA and New York much better off and Austin much better off. But it's still not going to answer this question of what happens in the countryside. To answer the question of what happens in the countryside, you need to get to the next thing. You need to make AI hardware as well as software. And you're right back to that same prescription of basically reindustrializing the country. And again, not reindustrializing the country on the stuff that has already left, reindustrializing the country based on all the things that have to be invented and built. And it's just like we know, I'm just incredibly highly confident that there's going to be these giant industries of, computerized everything, AI powered all kinds of hardware of all kinds of shapes, sizes to descriptions. You're funding a lot of that kind of thing. I'm funding a lot of that kind of thing. I mean, look, the entire defense base has to get rebuilt around this technology.
We're going to redo the manufacturing. We're going to build roads and tunnels and everything cheaper. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, and so this is the thing. This is the thing to do. Like to me, the path on this is very clear because we have to do this because it's necessary from a national security standpoint. We have to do it because we need it. We need the economic growth. We have to do it because we need an answer for the entire population of the country, not just the cities. And we have to do it because if we don't do it, China's going to do it, and we don't want to live in that world.